Welcome back, dear viewers. Now we will be talking about the Islamic architecture not only as a historical art form but as a living influence in today's creative world. And to shed more light on this issue, I'm honored to have here Dr. Ahmed Sidqi, Urban Development and Heritage Management Consultant. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us on Night Cruise and Night TV International.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. First, Doctor, I would like to know more from you about the features of the Islamic architecture and what makes it so unique.
Well, first, we just sometimes challenge the term Islamic architecture, and we say that the architecture and the arts of Muslims, because we inherited lots of influences from the pre-Islamic period. So what really came after is the canonical orders and the customary rules and the cultural ecology, and depends on the materials and the climate and all the other considerations that we had that synthesized all of this to reflect it on some certain typology, building typology, art, etc., beside the cultural aspects that necessitated certain architectural program, like mosques, like later on monasteries, and which is the khanqa, and all of this type of architecture, beside the keen concern with privacy and the protection of the customs and manners of the Muslim families.
Well, Doctor, in what way has the Islamic architecture influenced art around the world?
Well, we can say, we claim that always that during the medieval time, they say that it's like the Dark Ages. That was the Dark Ages where it used to be the torch of civilization in Europe, for example. But during that time, the torch of civilization really flourished and was lit by the Muslims in medieval time, and in the Fertile Crescent region and MENA region, what is known today as MENA region, and the heartland of Islam. So it was really the development and the evolution, for example, of the concept of the city and urbanism and the vibrant urban life and colleges and universities, etc. So like, for example, we can say in terms of culture, you can say that the ceremonies for the graduation, etc., it's a continuation of what used to be in Fez. Needless to speak about the type of the architecture, the institutions, etc., and the even specialized hospitals. Believe it or not, we have specialized hospitals for eye, for psychological and psychiatrists to just implement the work in Bimaristan al-Muayyad. We're talking about 12th century, 13th century, 14th century, as early as that time. So definitely this got its own impact on Europe and the other parts of the world.
Great. Also, Doctor, the term Mashrabiyya, we always hear about this term. I would like to know more from you to tell us about this term, its beauty, its privacy.
Well, people are always really taken by the terms or this kind of Orientalism approach, yes. Like women are hidden behind and gazing behind and all of these things. We just need to dismantle it a bit. I will be focusing on the feature itself as the architectural feature for the fenestration system in the Islamic architecture. The Mashrabiyya as a term, and with the term in the Arabic language or the Arabic local, it's the maf'aliyya, which is like the practice of drinking, because of this kind of semi-octagonal niche where you put the water jar in order to receive wind and to cool the water while it is preserved in a pottery jar, the ulla. And that's how the term mashrabiyya, meaning the drinking spot, within this fenestration, or within this kind of caged bay window with the turned wood work. And that's how we get it. And it's also gaining extra space by having this well-lit, well-aired fenestration system. Needless to say also that you still having this kind of having to minimize this kind of shade, creating these shades inside the space in order to minimize the thermal heat or the thermal load for our architecture, because we are within dry arid zone. So that's why it was a very good architectural solution for the fenestration system, as we say.
Great. From an engineering and design perspective, what can we learn in general from the Islamic architecture?
That's what I'm teaching my students right now. Believe it or not, these houses or these contexts that we are enjoying having the session together right now can be easily graded as gold or silver lead architecture. according to the norms or according to the measurements of today's work, meaning that it is adopting what we call it in modern time passive architectural considerations with cross ventilation and lighting systems, etc. So you need minimal fuel, you need minimal burnt carbon or carbon prints in order to live and enjoy life within. This is the best examples that we need to learn from this place, the sustainability, but in action.
Great, Doctor. Also, Doctor, how do you see the revival of Islamic design principles in modern urban planning, for instance?
I can see that by the revitalization of the sense of neighborhood and the territorial domain, which is a kind of a cultural approach to respect that. We see that in some kind of attempts, starting by the examples set by some experts and researchers, and they are actual keen researchers of Islamic art and architecture, like Hassan Fathi, the renowned architect, Egyptian renowned architect, and many others. Also with the planning of that respected the privacy and this kind of, we call it like the tree-like structure, which is adopting the system of the traditional Islamic cities, necessarily that is very much complementing the neighborhood and the human dimension for the planning or for the neighborhood design. I couldn't see it easily in our contemporary design, but in some countries we find that in some treatment very weird that I can see that in non-Muslim countries rather than watching it happening here. I hope that they would understand it and try to apply it in their own contemporary designs.
Great, hopefully. Also, Doctor, do you think that women or female architects in the Arab world are re-imaging or reimagining the legacy of historical architectural roles so far?
For me, women, men, it doesn't make a difference, because at the end of the day, you are an expert, you are an artisan of your craft. So without understanding the demands and the cultural dimension, without understanding the climate considerations and all of the things, and construction material and the structural integrity of the building, etc., you cannot achieve nothing. So you really need to work with that, whether male or female. And please dismantle this concept of the segregation and the gender segregation things. We need to understand it in more a wider perspective for such kind of architecture.
And finally, Doctor, what advice or a message you would like to give to architects who want to honor the Islamic architecture?
Try to adopt a more cultural approach in order to just have this kind of architecture revitalized. You are not revitalizing it for the sake of recalling all the typologies, but in fact we are taking what was the advancement during that time of application of methods of designs that would fit. We take the past on board as long as it serves today's needs. And we belong, and we are the disciplines of this kind of culture.
To cope with the needs, you mean?
Exactly.
And the requirements.
Believe it or not, in what we call it mistakenly slums, but in fact it's informal settlements, they are in the villages and the rural architecture, the people are still combined together with this kind of principles of architecture that was very well served in such typology. And that's why they make the necessary appropriation. I need people to understand this and to teach it well and clearly in our curriculum in the universities today.
Great. Dr. Ahmed Siddiqui, Urban Development and Heritage Management Consultant. I would like to thank you so much, Doctor, for your information. Always a dear guest.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. And
Cheers.
give viewers a short break, and we will be back, so stay tuned.